More than 200 million people from South Dakota to Florida will be in this heat wave zone in Mississippi and Louisiana. Throwing in the humidity, we're talking about temperatures that feel like 120 degrees. I'm Mike Slater. I have a podcast called Politics by Faith. The great Bill O'Reilly has your message of the day. Next.
Homeowners, when is the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles, and your equity is a target. Criminals forge your signature. Just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered up with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Please use my promo code BILL at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you will get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Tuesday, perhaps the biggest success of Trump 2 has been shutting down Biden's open border, an insane policy that will cost Americans trillions of dollars, not to mention all the violence from foreign criminals. But President Trump needs to take one more step if he wants to maximize his problem-solving legacy. He should implore Congress to pass a tough but compassionate new immigration law. It is long overdue because both parties exploit the undocumented migrant situation. Meantime, any serious effort to protect the country from harm has been neglected because pinheads from both parties do not have the guts to do the right thing. Here's what a new law might contain: increased green cards, working papers, for specific industries like agriculture and hospitality. Corporations would be totally responsible for the healthcare and other needs of immigrants. All undocumented people already here would have to register with the Department of Homeland Security within 90 days. Their situations would then be reviewed by immigration judges online. Humane visas would be issued to folks who deserve them. If you do not register, immediate deportation. All asylum applicants would have to wait outside the USA. Finally, a well-defined pathway for foreigners who want to become American citizens. Part of that would be military or civilian public service. If President Trump would champion those things, pressure would be enormous for Congress to finally honor the true legacy of the country: fairness and compassion. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Let's go to Paul Wolarski, Columbus, Indiana. Mr. I expect your opinion, so I'm curious why you're so confident the Supreme Court will agree the phrase "and subject to jurisdiction thereof" in the 14th Amendment excludes foreign ambassadors, but includes the children of illegal undocumented aliens. We've gone over this, Paul, at least 5 times. The last time I'm going to do it. The founders put that in, okay, to say that if you are working for a foreign government and you bring your family here and your wife gives birth, you are not an American citizen. You are still under the authority of the foreign government. That's across the board. That's it. It's not going to apply to undocumented migrants, no matter what they tell you on the internet. Sandy Bile, Fallon, Illinois. Why does the government waste our money with committees, having people come in and swear under oath to tell the truth, and they know they're lying? You said as much on your show, they aren't going to tell the truth. Yeah, taking the Fifth Amendment and the Biden thing, but it exposes them. Congress is an expose. They don't have the power to indict, but they do have the power to refer to the Justice Department. It is worthy to do that. Armando, concierge member, I hope you check that out. Armando is way ahead. Anything happens to Armando, my crew is with him. Homeless problem exists because it's a result of a chain reaction of counterproductive public policy. Every person receiving public funds or benefits should be tested for drugs. Right on. We are not supposed to be supporting heroin habits here. In a moment, something you might not know. Our healthcare system is a mess. You know that. You wait weeks for a doctor's appointment, get 5 minutes there, then face delays, insurance, red tape. It's slow, frustrating, and it's why all family pharmacy stands out in the madness. All family pharmacy believes in medical freedom, meaning you decide what works for your health, not some agency or insurance company. Ordering is simple. No waiting rooms, pharmacy lines. Just go online, place your order, and get medications delivered right to your door. They offer 200 medications, including ivermectin and antibiotics, plus emergency kits, customized orders, even bulk buys. More than 100,000 Americans already trust All Family Pharmacy. It's time you check them out. So please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Use promo code BILL10 for 10% off. Take your health into your own hands. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/bill, code BILL10.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, and Monocle's Pizza.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 21 years ago today, a Vietnam veteran accepted the Democratic Party's nomination as candidate for president. During his address, he promised to regulate Wall Street, expand the social safety net, and wind down the war in Iraq. Here is the story of John Kerry. Born 1943, Denver, Colorado, John's father was a Navy pilot. His mother, a member of the wealthy Forbes family. He is a direct descendant of John Winthrop, the first colonial governor of Massachusetts. Kerry joined the military after graduating from Yale. He was deployed to Vietnam in 1966, served for 3 years there, earning the Silver Star, Bronze Star, 3 Purple Hearts. Back in the States, John Kerry became a vocal critic of the Vietnam War. He spoke at rallies and eventually testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. The Massachusetts Democrat was then elected to the Senate in 1984. He won re-election 3 times. In 2004, Kerry kicked off his presidential campaign. His opponents, General Wesley Clark, Howard Dean, John Edwards. John Kerry carried 46 states in the primaries. On July 29th, he accepted his party's nomination at the Democratic National Convention in Boston.
I know what we have to do in Iraq. We need a president who has the credibility to bring our allies to our side and share the burden, reduce the cost to American taxpayers, reduce the risk to American soldiers, That's the right way to get the job done and bring our troops home. Here is the reality. That won't happen. That won't happen until we have a president who restores America's respect and leadership.
3 months later, the Democrat was narrowly defeated by President George W. Bush, 286 electoral votes to 251. And here's something else you might not know. After losing the presidential election, Kerry remained a controversial figure. He served as Barack Obama's Secretary of State, then as envoy for climate change under Joe Biden. During the first Trump administration, Kerry was accused of foreign collusion for holding secret meetings with Iranian officials without Trump's knowledge. Back after this. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty, listen up. Car Shield as a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan is now available to the public. You can save out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-881-0365 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote. 800-881-0365. 800-881-0365. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-881-0365. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News, analysis, opinion. News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Gaza's population is facing the worst case scenario of famine, and widespread death will occur without immediate action, that according to the Integrated Food Security Phase classification. Speaking with reporters while flying home from Scotland, President Trump says the food centers that will be set up in Israel will be under Israeli control.
We think they can do a good job of it. And they want to do it.
Of monitoring the food centers?
No, they want to do it, the food centers, yeah. They want to preside over the food centers to make sure the distribution is proper.
The warning comes amid international outrage over images of emaciated children and increased reports of death due to starvation in Gaza. A man carrying a rifle killed 4 people at a New York City office tower. The shooting took place Monday afternoon in a Midtown Manhattan office building that houses finance companies and the NFL headquarters. New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says the gunman sprayed the lobby with gunfire, then went to the elevator to an upper level, taking 1 life before taking his own.
Goes up to the 33rd floor, which is Rudin Management, and begins to walk the floor, firing rounds as he traveled. 1 person was struck and killed on that floor. He then proceeds down a hallway and shoots himself in the chest.
Police say Shane Tamura, a Las Vegas casino worker, had a note in his wallet that suggested he had a grievance against the NFL and asked that his brain be studied. He played high school football in California but never played in the NFL. Russia continued its attacks against Ukraine. Glide bombs and missiles struck a Ukrainian prison and a medical facility overnight, killing at least 27 people. More at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life.
Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Our first alert for Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more intensely hot day, but it also comes with a chance of storms. In the morning will be dry, 79 for the low, then 94 in the afternoon, heat index up to 105. By late afternoon and evening, let's watch for some heavy storms, some isolated pockets of damaging wind, not out of the question. So we're on guard for not just Heat Wednesday, but also a first alert weather day for any isolated severe storms by the evening. Then Thursday, chance for a couple showers, but nothing severe, much, much cooler. The heat wave's broken with a high of 80 degrees, but muggy. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here with my common sense brother, Rob Very, owner of STL Bath and Renovation. And let me tell you something, your home is your castle, but so is your bathroom. Rob, how can you make it beautiful?
Jamie, if you're tired of cleaning, you love the tile, but you hate the grout, we can give you man-made or natural stone in your bathroom for your floors and walls, but no grout. Easy to maintain.
And beautiful. All kinds of selections as well.
More than you can count.
STLBR.com, St. Louis Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Jamie.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
I was just speaking with Chad Hansen yesterday about some work that I need Hansen's Tree Service to tend to at our Jones home. We got a little stump needs to be taken out, cut down a tree last year and got to get that out of there. Hansen's Tree Service can provide that service and so much more because they provide expert insured tree care all over the St. Louis Metro and beyond, a wide variety of services regarding tree, shrubbery care, and beyond. Green resource recycling, grinding, and land clearing, all of their services and everything they can do for you at your home or your business. No job too big or too small for Hansen's can be found at hansenstree.com. Emergency service line, which is the daily business line, all in one handy number up at the top left-hand corner, 636-379-1830, 636-379-1830, or hansenstree.com. You can check out all their tree care services. Great time of year to get things ready to rock and roll as we head into late summer. Make sure to completely beautify and update your homestead or your business. They've got organic mulch. Great time to spruce up those landscape beds. They'll deliver it in bulk to you. All over the St. Louis metro area. You can order mulch online. You can apply for a hassle-free estimate, 6 months, same as cash financing to approved customers, make payments, and so much more. Everything, like I said, at hansenstree.com, hansenstree.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Because these guys are undoing everything in every way they can. They don't want poor people to vote. They don't want people of color to vote. They don't want Democrats to vote. They don't believe in democracy. We do.
Yeah, ranting and raving once again. We're back in the saddle on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. All three of us, the three amigos, back in studio today. Chris, Joey here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. NewsTalkSTL.com. Got a huge Titanic Tuesday show for you. Chris Arps, Chuck Schumer doesn't think that poor people, people of color, or Democrats in general are capable of getting a photo ID to vote.
And good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. It's good to see you once again. Joy, it's excellent to see you as well. Back, you look tanned and rested and ready for another day of week of great radio. Good to see you, my friend.
I told you my equilibrium is still screwed up, sitting on the dock all day when it's going up and down at Lake of the Ozarks. So I could just hit the wall as I try and stand still here.
You know, the remedy for that would have been humming Sitting by the Dock of the Day by Otis Redding. That would have equaled out your equilibrium. You'd have been okay.
You're darn right about that. I'm going to try that during the breaks.
You know, Chuck Schumer is an example here, Tim, of the Democrats' tone deafness because, first of all, the issue of voter ID is not the big issue that it once was. There are studies that show and elections that show that every time voter ID is pushed in a particular state, the African-American and minority voting population actually goes up. That is a fact. So I don't know where he is going with this. I mean, they get stuck in their old tropes. You know, somebody once quipped that the Democrats haven't had a new idea since the 1960s. And when they protest, it's the same slogans from the 1960s. So I don't know what Chuck Schumer's talking about here.
Absolutely true. Wall Street Journal had a big poll this week showing that the Democratic Party is at an all-time historic low. Like ever since they started doing polling, the Democratic Party has now hit absolute rock bottom.
Yeah,
so
30-year low.
We often call Republicans the stupid party, which they can be. Democrats are the evil party. And the Democrats, to your point, can't seem to figure out why they lost last November. They refuse. Look, they could be doing a lot of things right now that might be winning them some points with voters, but they keep going back to where they've been on the wrong side of these 80-20 issues: illegal immigration and crime and government spending. And yes, voter ID, not to mention the gender mutilation of children. Those are all easy softball 80-20 issues. The Democratic Party can't stop being on the wrong side of them.
And it's not even the issues. It's not only the issues, but it's also the candidates they're running. You know, New York City has the potential of having a socialist being the next mayor of New York City. We talked about this earlier last week that Minneapolis, has chosen the Democrats of Minneapolis, have chosen a Democratic socialist to be the next mayor of Minneapolis, supplanting the current mayor who is a Democrat. So you're hearing more and more talk, and it's insane to me, but politics is crazy, of President AOC or her running for president in 2028 and having a legitimate shot. I don't think so. I don't think the country will ever be that left, but it's the tone deafness. It's the left coast, right coast people that are influencing this party and the radicals, and they are totally out of the mainstream with the American public. And that's why, Tim, the Wall Street Journal poll showed 30% support for them.
Indeedy. A lot of news, some of it not so good today. We had the shooting last night in a city that should be one of the best, the safest, the most secure, because the NYPD is hailed around the globe as one of the finest police forces. But when you defund the police and you attack them and you demonize them, you have situations like this where people feel that they can take an AR-15 and walk into an office building in the middle of Manhattan. And here, Chris, here's my question. You can't move a muscle in Manhattan these days without being on camera somewhere. How this guy just nonchalantly walks into a building and commits this carnage is beyond.
Well, I was hearing on the news reports today that he drove across the country in his black BMW, and he basically, Tim, pulled up on Park Avenue, double parked illegally, and just walked in the building. He shot the police officer that was killed, the immigrant from Bangladesh who became a citizen, had 2 kids, has a baby on the way. He shot him right away, and that's how he got up to the floor where he thought it was the NFL offices, but he was actually on the wrong floor. It was the investment firm's floor, and he shot one of his employees. Tim, he is claiming in the manifesto that he left Apparently, he was a football star out in California. A lot of people were expecting him to do well in college football and maybe go to the NFL. It didn't work out. He said he had some mental issues. He is claiming that he had the disease that a lot of these football players are getting from concussions and constantly hits through the head. And he was blaming that for the failures in his life. And he wanted to send a message to the NFL because he felt they were covering this up, the effects of concussions. And so this was unfortunate, his way of trying to get that out.
The shooter, who has gone to hopefully his just reward, was identified as a Las Vegas casino security guard, yes, with a mental health history. You know, the Democrats immediately politicized this, so we can politicize it back. I think Goldman and some others talked about gun control. We'll talk about gun-free zones. I mean, one of the reasons that places like Manhattan get targeted is because people know that there are very few people there that are able to exercise their Second Amendment rights.
I looked it up this morning after I heard about this shooting, and I did some research on, how hard is it to have a gun in New York and next door here in Illinois. And they were talking about how difficult it is in Illinois. You have to have a FOID card or whatever they call it. And they're supposed to give it to you within 30 days. They drag it out to 60, 90 days, sometimes indefinitely. They're talking about magazine capacities in New York. You could only really have a gun for your own home. That's it. And to have a gun in your own home, you have to register it with the state of New York. It was absolutely insane. And I don't know, I have a brother and sister-in-law live there. I don't know how they live there because I would just feel so unarmed there.
Look at where any shootings occur. And I would argue probably 99 times out of 100, you have shootings taking place in soft target areas that are gun-free zones versus hard target areas that are gun zones. How many shootings do you hear that occur at police stations, for example, versus schools where no guns is posted everywhere? And so hardening the target, I think, would go a long way.
Tim, you talk about politicizing. Of course, Reuters was the first to do this that I found. This is a story they put out. Quote, almost half of all federal funding for gun violence prevention programs has been axed by the Trump administration, totaling $158 million in grants to major cities, including New York City and Chicago. The 69 community violence intervention grants established during the Biden era were canceled as part of the scalpel to the Office of Justice Programs, unquote. That is Reuters. So because Trump cut these programs, Tim, that's why this nut drove all the way across the country and created this carnage. If he just wouldn't have cut that program, it would have stopped this guy.
Because we all know that any good government program can prevent lunacy all across the land. I mean, the arguments these people make truly beyond the pale. And of course, they have to immediately rush to political judgment before having all the facts. Chris, we're going to shift gears at 4:25. We're going to speak with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. The Show Me Institute, I know, has been advocating for this reform for a long time, but now they're going front and center on the need to reform Missouri's initiative petition process. I feel like every time we get back to this topic, it's like beating the dead horse, but the horse isn't quite dead yet because we haven't done it yet. This will be the 8th or 9th session in a row whereby everyone who generally votes Republican would like to have the Republican supermajority do this. And so it's great that the Show Me Institute has jumped on board officially. And David Stokes will talk to us about his op-ed that he recently had published.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask Dave about the subpoena of Sam Page, St. Louis County executive, by the Missouri Highway Patrol. It was regarding the Prop V vote where St. Louis County allegedly illegally paid for campaign materials. And looks like the county executive was given a summons. And what's ironic, Tim, you remember a couple of weeks ago, we had A.G. Bailey last week, wasn't it? Or a week before, we had A.G. Bailey in the studio. And I asked him specifically, I said, look, Sam Page is absolutely out of control. He's a king. He's appointing people not supposed to do. Is there anything your office can do to rein him in or do something? And apparently that, I'm not saying I had anything to do with it, but apparently that was in the works while the Attorney General was in the studio with us discussing other matters.
You kept the bug buzzing in his ear. Indeed.
I wish.
And, I would say that one of the biggest failings of former Governor Mike Parson was not reining Sam Page in during the COVID years. There's a lot of criticism that was directed at the governor during that. Sam Page's comeuppance is long overdue. Very excited that Andrew Bailey is not afraid to take him on. So I think this is an excellent pursuit by the Attorney General. Andrew Bailey is a busy boy these days, too.
I mean, just the simple fact that the county executive is moonlighting while he's supposed to have one sole job,
right there,
according to the charter. I mean, it's like hiding in plain sight out there, wide out in the open. I mean, how much does it cost him to hire a private investigator and follow him around for a couple of months and see what he does in the after he leaves the county executive office? What I mean. We pony up some money, hire a Magnum PI or hire Barnaby Jones or somebody.
We may not even have to do that. I think, Chris, some of our listeners who may be listening right now know for a fact that Sam Page is doing that. I know there's a lot of our listeners that tracked him throughout all that, and they know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, it's kind of hiding in plain sight, as a Breaking Bad Gus used to say.
Versus what he should be doing, indeed. So David Stokes will cover all that with us and likely lots more at 4:25. At 4:45, we will have Chris's Corner.
We've been haranguing on the Democrats, all of their misfortune. Tim, I've got a little good news for them, possibly in next year's elections, and we'll talk about that big development in the Democratic circles, along with some other Democratic Party news and a little immigration news as well.
Excellent.
Illegal aliens becoming cops in Maine. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. That is. I saw that story. I'm glad you're going to report on that. That is absolutely nuts indeed. Nutso, as my daughters would say. At 5:07, second hour of the program, we will have the Speaker's stump speech. And I'm going to refer to two things. I posted one of these on my Twitter X feed at Speaker Tim Jones. It's a little cartoon meme, Chris, of a lot of the things that we talk about often with the climate craziness. We haven't talked about the climate craziness in a while, mainly because we have an administration that's not trying to handicap us and cut us off at the knees every day. But there's a little meme, Chris, of the timeline of all the things the left has said was going to happen to the planet when they said them. And, of course, the fact that none of them have occurred.
Remember the story we had about the lady up in Washington State that wants the Blue Angels to stop practicing because, one, it's destroying the planet. And I found out later that all of the buzzing was disturbing her cat, who had a heart condition. And she is alleging that her cat passed prematurely, even though it was like 14 years old, because the Blue Angels jet was too much for its heart.
She's probably Karen the cat lady.
Yeah,
indeed.
Exactly. And she's a Democrat.
There you go. Tie it all together. So I'm going to refer to that meme. And then there's a great little op-ed by our good friend Daniel Turner at Power of the Future. We often speak with Larry Barons at Power of the Future. Daniel Turner, his boss, wrote about energy independence being inevitable. So I'm going to first show how the climate craziness has just completely consumed the left. They don't even know what they're talking about anymore. They've argued in the last 20 years that we're either going to have an ice age or the earth is going to just blow up into a ball of fiery flame. Neither things have happened, but energy independence is inevitable.
People should have started asking questions, Tim, when they changed the terminology from global warming to climate change. That right there should have been like a big bell jingling, like, why are you going from climate change to global warming, especially when temperatures have been cooler than they should be?
A great point that they do not get held accountable on. Dr. Randy Tobler will join us. Yes, we're back in the saddle with the good doctor at 5:25. We will continue to have him. We'll get the good doctor's view on a lot of these big headline stories of the day. We always like to talk to the doctor about some medical and scientific news. There's also plenty of that in the headlines as well. At 5:45, we, of course, will tell you exactly what's coming up on Larry Connors USA at 6 p.m. and wrap up the show with everything that you may not have heard of today, but you need to know. Wow, jam-packed show today with all three of us back in the saddle.
Before we go to break, Joy, I have to say that, you've gotten a nice tan. You've got kind of a nice brownish oranges, not a Trump orange, but an orangish tone. And that your sweatshirt that you has on really goes good with your skin tone. I just want to tell you that.
I'm definitely afraid of getting skin cancer. So I was actually swimming in this sweatshirt in the lake. I had the hood up. I had sunglasses.
As long as
I
you
had
didn't have
hat
a mask on. You didn't have a mask on.
I didn't have
did
a
you?
mask on.
All right,
No.
good.
I didn't want to waterboard myself. Yeah.
All right, let's get to a quick break here. We always have lots to discuss with the good David Stokes at the Show Me Institute. We're going to talk to him about the need for initial petition reform, what's going on with Sam Page, and so much more when we return on today's edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Coming at you at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more intensely hot day, but it also comes with a chance of storms. In the morning, will be dry, 79 for the low, then 94 in the afternoon, heat index up to 105. By late afternoon and evening, let's watch for some heavy storms, some isolated pockets of damaging wind, not out of the question. So we're on guard for not just Heat Wednesday, but also a First Alert weather day for any isolated severe storms by the evening. Then Thursday, chance for a couple showers, but nothing severe, much, much cooler. The heat wave's broken with a high of 80 degrees, but muggy. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Like Ferguson in the morning, we keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, if new windows or doors are on your to-do list this summer, make your first call to STL Windows and Doors. They are a local, family-owned company with over 65 years of experience right here in the metro area. My wife and I met with them a few months ago, and they are really, really good people. They're not just experienced, they're trusted. Home Advisor named them a top-rated and elite service provider, and they were even recognized by Forbes.com as one of St. Louis's finest window contractors. That says a lot about how they treat their customers. You'll get Provia windows made in the USA, Energy Star certified, and they're backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Their team of certified installers, they're professional, they're friendly, and they get the job done right. With competitive pricing and high recommendation rate, St. Louis Windows and Doors is the company most homeowners are choosing. Hey, today, schedule your fast free home estimate at stlwindowsanddoors.com. That's stlwindowsanddoors.com. STL Windows and Doors, the preferred window installation company in St. Louis.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Tonight, St. Louis County Executive Sam Page's office is being investigated by the Missouri Attorney General.
And this all stems from a contentious ballot issue this past spring.
In a response to our direct inquiries about a subpoena being served today, the Highway Patrol sent a statement saying they were completing an investigation at the request of the Missouri Attorney General's office. Multiple county council members told me Monday night they had serious concerns about the mailer, with Councilmember Dennis Hancock saying Page did not listen to the council when they warned him about it.
427 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, I think a lot of people are screaming from the rooftops, it's about time.
Indeed. And I wonder, Chris, why it's taken so long. But you know what? Better late than never.
Let's see what David Stokes thinks.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute. In high school, you talk about spike. I had a very short spike. It was spiked.
I knew there's some spike somewhere in there.
It wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
And as he does every Tuesday, David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. Welcome to the show, David.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
David, you hear that clip? Sam Page is apparently being investigated by the Attorney General. There have been a lot of things he can be investigated for. This latest transgression by Page seemed to be kind of a no-brainer, what he's allegedly have done.
Well, I have no idea if it's a no-brainer or not. I'm not knowledgeable on these types of criminal investigations or whatever, or civil investigation, whatever it may be. However, I do know that, as our friend Tom Sullivan's been documenting for decades, that governments of all types have been abusing this process and sending out taxpayer-funded mailers ostensibly neutral about various political propositions, be they bond issues at school districts or tax increases, or this one on a St. Louis County ballot proposition. Governments have been violating the neutrality rules on this one for decades, and it's time for it to stop. And if it takes a criminal investigation to scare people into stopping, so that the next time a school board has a tax increase, they either don't send out anything at all, which would be preferable, or send out something that's truly neutral and is truly only facts with no bias. I mean, we've all seen these mailings. We've gotten scores of them in recent years. And they're all, you'd have to be a fool not to see the bias in favor of the tax increase or the bond issue or for one side of a ballot proposition. It's always obvious and just sort of skirts the technical legal interpretation of neutrality. And perhaps people are saying, in this case, they didn't even skirt it very well. So if something comes at the end, it comes out that we see far fewer of these biased taxpayer-funded election mailings going forward, that'd be a wonderful result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and David, I would submit and I would allege that that many taxing jurisdictions do this, and maybe this can be made an example of, because you see this all the time, don't you, David, with school districts and fire districts and you name it, districts. We have too many districts, period, the end, in Missouri. It's so parochial and provincial. That's a story for another day. But they do it, right, David, because they get away with it, right?
They do, and the more of them that there are, and the smaller of them that there are, it makes it easier to get away with it, right? I've got a paper coming out shortly that probably in a few weeks here that talks about, in one case, the benefits of having a lot of small governments, but there are also costs of them, and I've talked about those costs many times over my career in public policy. So one of those costs is that people can pay less attention to them. It's harder for there's only so many Tom Sullivans out there in the world who have the willingness and the commitment to follow this sort of thing. And if you're a small school district or a small municipality, there's a very good chance you don't have somebody who lives in that community that follows this stuff closely. And then you get away with more stuff because nobody's paying any attention to it. And clearly, the more governments you have, the more small governments you have, fewer people are paying attention. And you can get away with more stuff, be it just bad government or things that verge on criminality, or things that are criminal, like clerks stealing funds from the budget because nobody's supervising their budgeting work and their accounting work. You get stuff like that, and it's easier to do in a small government.
Speaking with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, I know you don't do politics there at the Show Me Institute, but you have been in politics a long time. You're a political animal. How tone deaf does a St. Louis Police Board member have to be to join the staff of a controversial sheriff's office?
Well, as you all may recall, I was one of the few people, and I don't mean speaking to you, just generally, at least somewhat taking the side of Mayor Jones in her efforts to get greater control of the personnel department and remove this director last year. And it wasn't that I had anything against this particular woman. It's just that I think elected officials need to have more authority to put their people in charge when they win office. And sometimes you can go too far in limiting that under the aegis of battling corruption and things like that. So anyway, so now Mayor Jones, I guess, is looking pretty good here because, right, like you've just been appointed to the police board, which I don't believe is a paid position, but it's certainly a very important job and a very honored position and the like. And now you take a day job with an organization that is not, I don't want to say it's in competition with the police department. It's not normally, but the new sheriff certainly has it appearing to be in competition with the police department. And the new sheriff is being investigated by various law enforcement agencies for his own reasons. And you take it now, you're in the middle of both. So it seems crazy. And I think it sounds like I like the governor's office's reaction to it to say this is not going to stand. And I don't think it's going to stand upon Senate confirmation. So she's going to have to pick one of the two of them. And perhaps she should be forced to pick the sheriff's job, because what I mean by that is it certainly shows the lack of discretion that maybe somebody without that lack of discretion isn't the right person for the police board.
David, I think I read the other day that she did step down. Someone showed her the light.
She stepped down from which position? The police board nomination? Or
the sheriff's office,
job?
yeah. Sheriff's office.
Okay, very good. Very good. So but it still leads to mind the question of somebody who would not see that problem beforehand. So yes, good for her. We all make mistakes. We all, correct. And as John Kennedy said, an error doesn't become a mistake till you refuse to correct it. So good for her for correcting it. But it also does raise legitimate questions about the judgment to do it in the first place.
It's very forgiving of you, David.
Indeed.
Forgiving.
David, speaking of correcting mistakes, it's great to see that you all at the Show Me Institute are jumping right in the middle of the fray regarding the need to reform our initiative petition process. David, not only have we been making the argument that it has become basically hijacked and bastardized by out-of-state and even out-of-country left-wing billionaire activists, but now, David, we're seeing the unintended consequences that folks like you and I and Chris and everybody said was going to happen. We had a recent Supreme Court case that you highlighted in your recent piece showing how the complications of putting something into the Constitution occurs down the line. We had this case that came out on marijuana tax stacking. You're like, well, what does that have to do with initiative petition reform? Well, that's how we got it, right, David? It's in the initiative petition process, and now the legislature's hands are tied because they can't fix it. We could give a zillion more examples, but we need initiative petition reform now, don't we?
We do, and we absolutely do. And we have a blog post. I have one up at showmeinstitute.org about this tax stacking issue. And it's not that the question is whether counties can impose their marijuana tax in incorporated parts of the county, meaning within cities, towns, and villages. Generally, counties do that. If you pass a county sales tax, it applies countywide in both the unincorporated and incorporated parts. Well, this particular constitutional amendment differentiated that. And obviously, look, I like keeping taxes low, but it raises the larger point. It's not that this is such a huge issue, and it's not that I'm crying for the counties that are going to miss out on some marijuana taxes. It's just that this is a perfect example of the abuses and problems that come from just sort of wide-ranging use of the initiative petition. The marijuana legalization background paper that explained in detail all that was happening when you voted for it was 38 pages long, 38 pages of legalese and minutia. Did you read all 38 pages? I'm willing to bet that nobody in the state of Missouri did. So look, I'm not opposed to marijuana legalization. I'd be a pretty lousy small L libertarian if I was, but it's still, and we saw so much of this through Medicaid expansion as well in Missouri that my colleague Elias Apellis has been talking about for years. When you have so much of this IP process, you get all these changes that people are voting on that they have no idea they're voting on. And changing how cities and counties levy their sales taxes for marijuana is just one small example of it. And again, while it might be a small example, it's a good example because it almost totally changed how sales taxes are done in Missouri. And absolutely nobody knew this when they were voting on it. At least, the people who wrote the bill probably did, but none of the average voters did. And it was the same with the recent increased vacation time and minimum wage increase that voters passed. Thankfully, that was done by statute, so it could be addressed by the legislature. But, everybody just reads the summary. And even when the ballot summaries are accurate for what they're worth, meaning, yes, you knew that marijuana was going to be legalized, or no, you didn't want it legalized, the summary was fine to that regard. But there's, as I said, 38 pages of actual changes being made here that nobody reads or knows about. And this is why we elect legislators to dig into this stuff and at least know the details of the bills that they pass. Now, I think at the state and federal level, the bills are getting too big, make it harder to do that. But at least they're going to do a better job at that than the general public will. So we need IP reform, and I hope people check out the blog post we wrote on this tax stacking issue at showmeinstitute.org.
David, as a father of three, you know that a new school year is fast approaching. We've seen all the trouble in the St. Louis City School Board over the years with the misappropriation of funds. Things seem to have settled down a bit, but there's a story in the Post-Dispatch today that says that the security director has resigned before the first day of school. Do you know more about that? And does this spell even more trouble for the St. Louis City schools? And does Show Me Institute have any education papers coming up?
We do have some education papers coming up written by our policy director, Susan Pendergast, and my colleague, Avery Frank. So we have lots of stuff coming out soon at showmeinstitute.org. I'm not sure they're directly on the question of the St. Louis Public School District security director, but yes, that should be concerning. I mean, y'all hate it, but look, with the school shootings and so many other things, look, security in schools are incredibly important right now, probably a lot more important than it was when we were children and we were in schools, when pretty much anybody could walk in and out of a school whenever you wanted to. But it's a very important role right now. And in a place like the city of St. Louis, it's probably even more important than some other school districts. You want your kids to be safe when they go to school. So right here, a couple weeks before the new school year starts, for the security director to be resigning and leaving that position open, I hope it's not a symptom of larger problems in the city of St. Louis School District. But knowing how the city of St. Louis School District is operating, you would certainly be fair to wonder if it is indeed a symptom of clearly a problem, a larger problem, when people who are doing such an important job are taking off just a few weeks before the school season starts.
Mm-hmm. David, before we let you go, I understand the Show Me Institute is doing a series of events around the state. I know for our listeners who may be further out into mid-Missouri, or anybody listening to us on the app over in the KC side, got a couple events coming up on August the 1st about understanding the new golden age that Donald Trump declares that we are currently in. If you'd like to tell our listeners about that and how they can check it out, I think it's coming up later this week. Yes, August the 1st.
Right. We've got events coming up throughout the state, including one in Kansas City soon. And we've got our chief economist, Aaron Hedlund, our former chief economist, Aaron Hedlund, who's now working in the White House in the Trump administration. He's got some time off, traveling back to his home in Missouri and doing an event or two for us. And he's going to be fantastic. So people should go to the events page at showmeinstitute.org and check it out. And if you're in Kansas City or Columbia or outstate Missouri, I hope you can make it to some of these upcoming events.
That's David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, showmeinstitute.org. On X, you can read all of his excellent work at David C. Stokes. David, thank you so much, and still looking forward to that in-studio visit.
Any day now. You guys just keep being excited for it, and then one day the surprise will be there, and you'll be like 40-year-olds on Christmas. It'll just blow your mind.
What a beautiful, vivid picture you painted there. Thank you, David, so much.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Talk to you next week. All right, Chris's Corner coming up. Tim, I may have some good news for the Democrats.
Oh,
they haven't had a lot of it
my
lately.
goodness.
We'll talk about that on Chris's Corner. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Tell me it's cool. I just don't believe it. Sell out with me, oh yeah. Sell out with me tonight. Record company's gonna give me lots of money and everything's gonna be all right.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more intensely hot day, but it also comes with a chance of storms. In the morning, will be dry, 79 for the low, then 94 in the afternoon, heat index up to 105. By late afternoon and evening, let's watch for some heavy storms, some isolated pockets of damaging wind, not out of the question. So we're on guard for not just Heat Wednesday, but also a First Alert weather day for any isolated severe storms by the evening. Then Thursday, chance for a couple showers, but nothing severe, much, much cooler. The heat wave's broken with a high of 80 degrees, but muggy. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Thanks for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Radio news junkie.
Love every bit about it.
News Talk STL.
As you know, Royal Banks is celebrating over 60 years of serving the St. Louis community. They are a community bank, which means they're not some big out-of-town conglomerate. They get to know their customers, and that's why they've been around for so long. They've got 15 convenient locations across the area, across the river in Jerseyville and Granite City, Illinois, even up in Northeast Missouri and Hannibal and Rawls County. You know, they have reopened their original home of University City, has a new building that's at 8550 Olive Boulevard. You can discover how you can refresh your finances there at their new building with convenient, customized banking solutions just for you. Hey, there's still time to plan your dream vacation or major home remodel this year. A home equity line of credit from Royal Banks of Missouri can help turn those visions into reality. And as I always like, their interactive teller machines. That's where you can experience banking your way. You can talk to a live banker, virtual, in person until 7 p.m. Learn more by visiting them on the web at royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, investing in our communities, one client at a time. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peters, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Fort Trail, and the original Stefanina's in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at Steph'sPizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
On Wednesday at 7:05, find out why a local hero is going to be honored in Sturgis and what that can do for other veterans around the country.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We don't need more gun control. We need more idiot control. And I don't know exactly how to do that, but I do know this. I don't want to hear anyone feeling sorry for this guy who did this. I believe there's objective evil in this world, and we saw it today.
447, back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And John F. Kennedy, in his usual way, Tim gets straight to the point of what the problem is. It's not an inanimate object. It's not the gun. It's the people with the guns who are inherently evil, as John Kennedy said. And how do you stop that? We have constitutional rights. We have a Second Amendment. You have to balance that between taking guns away from someone who may be a danger to society. But look, in these times, the police come after the fact, and I'm not going to be a sitting duck. I'm going to go out firing if it comes to that. That's just my view.
Well, your emphasis on asking the question as to what happened in the culture, I think, is well-founded, because these things, look, we have had a lot of guns in this country for hundreds of years. It wasn't until the mid to late 90s that these types of incidents have started happening with regularity. So don't you have to ask yourself, Chris, not whether there's an issue with the inanimate object, which has always been around since our nation's founding, but what happened to us? What happened to the people? What happened to our children that suddenly people thought they should take matters like this into their own hands and use violence to deal with their problems versus whatever we had been doing before?
And then we had the crazy nut up in Traverse City, Michigan, who didn't have a gun, Tim, but he was able to injure 11 people.
Yeah.
That's about the number of people that are injured with a handgun.
There you go.
11 people, you know, so
that's a perfect example.
It doesn't matter.
It's not the mechanism, it's the user, right? It's an issue with the culture, with the individual. And you notice, Chris, how whenever a gun is involved, the Democrats can't fall over each other enough to get to the podium. But if it's a knife attack or someone sets off a truck bomb, all these things that do just as much and sometimes more damage. Someone drives a car through a parade of people. They never seem to ask any questions about anything.
Yeah, it's the people's behavior, not the inanimate object. All right. That's a lot of gloom and doom talk, and may not be happy talk for Republicans, but may have a little good news for the Democrats on Chris's Corner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Well, as you all know, North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis threw in the towel a few weeks back, said he will not be running for election. So that will be an open Senate seat in North Carolina next year, and it's a very competitive seat. People have been hopeful in North Carolina, the Democrats have, that former Governor Roy Cooper, who is very, very popular in the state, jumps in the race. Well, he announced yesterday, Tim, that he is joining the race for North Carolina. Former state rep who was in the race dropped out immediately to make way for him. In his first 24 hours in the race, he raised $3.4 million, $2.6 million from $100 or less. So that shows a lot of support for him. That puts that North Carolina seat really, really into play. And we know that the Republican candidate will be the former Republican RNC chairman, Doug Whately, I think that's his name. So that will be a seat, Tim, where hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars will be spent. You know, the Democrats always try to portray themselves as the party of compassion, and Democrats Republicans are the evil, hard-hearted, only care for the rich. Well, as we all know, as Generation Xers, one of our heroes died last week, Hulk Hogan, universally loved. Everyone admired his wrestling talent, what he did for kids growing up, adolescents. Well, the chair of the Alachua County School Board there in Florida, she put out something on her Facebook that said about the death of Hulk Hogan, quote, "one less MAGA." She later apologized for her, quote, cruel and flippant comments, stating she never wished harm on anyone, regardless of their political views. Well, we talked about it earlier, how the Democrats are going full socialist there in New York and possibly in Minneapolis. Zohran Mamdani, his views on Israel and Palestine have been abundantly clear, even though he's been trying to walk back those comments. Well, Tim, it's rising that here's a poll says a supermajority of New York City Democratic voters agree with Zohran Mamdani's views on Israel, including his support for arresting the country's prime minister. That's according to a poll. 78% of the voters in New York City, Democrats who participated in the June mayoral primary, which Mamdani won by 12 points, agreed that Israel was conducting, quote, a genocide in Gaza. 79% wanted to restrict taxpayer-funded weapons to Israel until the country ends its bombardment. The survey was by Data for Progress, which is a Democratic group for the Institute for Middle East Understanding Policy Project. Wow, what a name. Can you imagine trying to fundraise for that? The Data for Progress for the Institute for Middle East Understanding Policy Project.
You got an acronym?
No, it's just a super, super long title. Man, try to imagine the URL for that thing. That was the latest to find the Democratic voters are more pro-Gaza than their leaders.
Yikes.
And unfortunately, on the right side of the aisle, Steve Bannon said this. He said, quote, it seems that for the under 30-year-old MAGA base, Israel has almost no support, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's attempt to save himself politically by dragging America in deeper to another Middle East war has turned off a large swarm of older MAGA diehards. That we'll see about that, but that's some pretty strong words there by Steve Bannon, who is a Donald Trump diehard, and some say that he's an isolationist and doesn't want America involved in foreign wars like we have in the past. You know, we talk about the Democrats. One of the reasons why North Carolina has become a purple state is because Democrats from New York and California move out there. It's got a nice technology hub. It's pretty good weather out there. I've been out there several times. Tim, your wife went to school there, so you know the weather is pretty pleasant year round there. And so they are coming for the jobs and they're coming for the nice weather, but they're unfortunately bringing their blue left-wing politics with them. Here's something: the New York and New Jersey has lost $140 billion in income in just one decade from people moving out.
Wow.
They're calling it the moving van economics. New York and New Jersey are the losers. A new analysis from many organizations, Unleash Prosperity, of the latest census and income tax data finds these two states have lost more residents over the past decade than any other state named California from 2015 to 2024. New York has lost 2 million residents in 10 years. Wow. And they are moving out $140 billion. That's a lot of money. The only thing that is saving places like California is Hollywood. You can't really move Hollywood out, even though you can film other places. And fortunately for New York, it's the financial capital of the world
for now.
And exactly for now. And so that's saving them. But, Rush Limbaugh, before he passed, years before he moved to Florida, bought a state. Sean Hannity stayed in New York for the longest because he loved New York, there where he's from. He eventually moved to Florida. So you think they would learn some type of lesson, but they had not. I remember when Rush moved out too. Somebody, an important person I can't remember, was like, "Good riddance, good that he's gone." It's like, yeah, all that tax revenue.
Yeah, congratulations.
Exactly, and that is Chris's corner.
I am really glad that, and I was actually, I'm probably going to do a stump speech more fully on that, on how money moves, Chris, around the country. Yeah. The Committee to Unleash Prosperity, they basically picked up an idea that the company I used to work for here in town, First Rule, we had the How Money Walks map, and it was very similar to this. So I wonder if they picked up some of that technology and have updated that, because when you see the graphic and you're able to see the arrows in and arrows out, and what you just said, just to give people $140 billion, that's 3 times the size of Missouri's entire budget. That's amazing.
And I was reading something today. I was in Texas over the weekend. there's a big fight down there because there is an aquifer that creates a lot of water for the farmers and for the area. There's a big rich guy that's buying that aquifer and that land, but they're talking about water shortages just because all of the population growth, all the people that are moving to Texas and Tennessee and Florida, all because they are ripe for growth and no income taxes. Tim, what do you got at 507?
Energy in a country like ours, energy independence should be inevitable.
And at 524, we'll speak with Dr. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show here on Saturday mornings from 6 to 9. We'll talk to him about all of the big topics of the day and some medical news as well I want to talk to the doctor about. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
The one I need is tied up right now. So
from home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Taste the difference that fresh local makes. Anthony's Produce supports our local farmers by bringing you the finest locally grown produce in town. From the juiciest peaches and melons to the sweetest corn and ripest tomatoes, we've got it all. Plus, discover our amazing selection of locally made jams, salsas, pickles, and fresh sourdough breads. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6:30, and Sundays, 8 to 5. 701 Jungerman Road in St. Peters, or visit anthonysproduce.com.
As Tim Jones has been telling you, when life changes, you need someone you can trust. And that's Todd Sivia. At Sivia Law, we're dedicated to helping you through life's transitions, specializing in estate planning and elder law. With 7 convenient locations in the area, expert guidance is always close by. Call 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com. And don't forget, the first 10 people to tell them Tim Jones sent me get a free $300 strategy session.
Tim Jones here. For lunchtime, Capriotti's cannot be beat, and I love the grilled chicken parmesan at Capriotti's. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. It's another day of oppressive summer heat in the southeastern U.S. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Mullenix says extreme heat warnings are in effect for several cities.
Along the lower Mississippi Valley, so places that would include from New Orleans on north, even as far north as St. Louis. But we also have extreme heat warnings in parts of Georgia, down through northern Florida.
Mullenix says in some areas not used to the extreme heat, the temperatures today could challenge the all-time record highs for July and potentially reach 100 degrees or even higher. I'm Mike Hempen.
At a cabinet meeting, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the UK will recognize a Palestinian state.
I can confirm the UK will recognize the state of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution.
While former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, says Hamas has won a major PR victory by using a disinformation campaign to convince the world Israel is causing a food shortage in Gaza.
But at the end of the day, who pays the price? It's not Israelis. It's first and foremost the Palestinians themselves. And these Europeans who are now accusing us of starving Palestinians who are accusing us of genocide. They think they're doing something good for the Palestinians. They are the people who are killing Palestinians.
Oren spoke to the Salem Radio Network. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 204 points. More at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Progressive knows RV owners like to travel at a nice, relaxing pace. Just like this commercial. They're not rushing to a departure gate at the airport because they depart from their driveway. And they can relax even more knowing they're protected by Progressive. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Here's
from the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more intensely hot day, but it also comes with a chance of storms. In the morning, will be dry, 79 for the low, then 94 in the afternoon, heat index up to 105. By late afternoon and evening, let's watch for some heavy storms, some isolated pockets of damaging wind, not out of the question. So we're on guard for not just Heat Wednesday, but also a First Alert weather day for any isolated severe storms by the evening. Then Thursday, chance for a couple showers, but nothing severe, much, much cooler. The heat wave's broken with a high of 80 degrees, but muggy. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Attention all gun enthusiasts. Still miss the big DeSoto Gun Show, August 10th and 11th at the Knights of Columbus Hall in DeSoto, Missouri. Over 450 tables of pistols, handguns, rifles, long guns, shotguns, ammo, and more. The fun starts Saturday, August 10th at 9 a.m. and continues all weekend. Admission just $10 and good for the entire weekend. 12 and under, get in free with discounts for veterans and first responders. The big DeSoto Gun Show at the DeSoto, Missouri Knights of Columbus all the weekend of August 10th. More info at bkeypromotions.us.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations, Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff, looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores Restaurantandgrill.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
This is good for America. This is good for the American people. It's good for working families.
You will start seeing historic growth like we've never seen before.
This is a 100-year catastrophe.
There have been some 850 rescues. Their base are increasingly illegals, criminals, and people who love criminals.
You plead the fifth usually when you have criminal liability.
There are always going to be issues that we disagree on.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one
for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
We're going to get right back into the program in just a second, but let me ask you first, how's your lawn doing at this point in the summertime? If you don't want to talk about it, that probably means you do not have a fantastic irrigation system from our good friends at Hydrodynamics Core. Tim Jones here to tell you all about Hydrodynamics Core. Hydrodynamicscore.com, celebrating 52 plus years in the business, established way back in 1973. They have stood the test of time because they are an excellent commercial and residential lawn irrigation company based right here in St. Louis, multi-generational, family-owned, and they're absolutely fantastic. They can do tons of stuff for the outdoor spaces around your home or your business or your factory or your industrial facility. Wherever you've got like green space, they can make it looking such. First of all, the building block of the company, of course, is their irrigation systems. This time of year, it's really important if you have an irrigation system, whether Hydrodynamics Core put it in or not, have Hydrodynamics Core come out and check it out. Give it a mid-season tune-up. Make sure all the rotator heads are working well, that it's providing enough water flow, et cetera, and so forth. Hydrodynamicscore.com is where you can check out and schedule that appointment. Premium Turf Management Program, 7 steps. You can enter that program at any time. You don't have to wait for the beginning or the end of the season. It includes that very important core aeration and overseeding that you need to do in the fall? And how about extra services to make the outdoor spaces around your home or business look great? Outdoor lighting, installation, and service. They can fix drainage problems, and they can put in beautiful retaining walls or patios, walkways, edging, outdoor fireplaces, and so much more. For all of that, and to check out everything Hydrodynamics Core can do, from your irrigation to your fertilization to your lighting installation and more, hydrodynamicscore.com, hydrodynamicscore.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't. So, how do we deal with that fact? Because that's the fact.
A little self-awareness and an honesty take there from Bill Maher. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It is Tuesday. It is July the 29th, where I feel like we just celebrated Independence Day, Chris, last week. And now we're in the last 3 days of July 2025.
I mean, it was like that back in school. Like I said, it was always summer was slow and easy, but right after the 4th of July, before you know it, it was back time to go to school. Tim, I have that in the stack about tariffs. The government has generated an extra $20 billion each of the past 2 months, which totals $240 billion in additional revenue this year. They've got it even broken down. Motor vehicles brought in $3.4 billion, or over 14% of the $22.4 billion. So the old paradigm seems to have been upended on tariffs.
And the point here is the reason this works, the reason this is working for us is because we are once again, the United States of America, the country, is acting like the leader of the free world that it always should be, right? Even if you were to ask, if you can find an honest liberal and ask them the simple question, who is the world's lone superpower? Of course, it's the United States. There's a lot of other big, China is competing for that position. Russia is kind of falling behind. So we need to act like it, right? If we were the nation of East Sri Lanka, right, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. But Joe Biden and Democrats tried to talk us into this management of decline. And Donald Trump has basically just said, no. We're still the United States of America. Let's act like such. And that's why this is working. I think eventually Trump wants to get these tariffs as low as he can, but he's going to ratchet up the pressure until people bend. He just went to the EU and to the UK, and he's bringing home more bacon, right? Not only does he work out these trade deals, he then works out these deals where these countries say, and we're also going to invest in America as well.
The left's problem is they believe that it is arrogant to express American power, that you should be subdued, you should be trying to be benevolent, we should be trying to work for this new world order where all countries are equal, and that countries that are wealthy should transfer their wealth to poor countries under the guise of climate change. It also kind of dovetails what I say during the talk when I talk about their patriotism. The only time that they are really patriotic is when it's talking about the Olympics. But any other time you talk about patriotism and waving the flag in America, that's jingoistic. That is paternalism. That is imperialism. The same type of language that socialist communists use when it comes to capitalist America.
And I've never understood that because everybody around the globe likes to wrap themselves in their flag, right? Like you see it in the Olympics. You see these athletes who are so excited and honored and privileged to be representing their country at these global events. You see it. You see it in World Cup soccer matches. You see it. Everybody wraps themselves in their flag. Why is it wrong when Americans do it?
Tim,
According
just
to the
think
left,
of all it is basically, it's a grander version of white guilt. That because you are successful or you have things in life and others don't, that you feel guilt about it. The liberals feel the same way about America. It's a great country. It's the greatest country in the world. And to exclaim that and talk about that is bragging. It's terrible. So they subdue themselves. And the only time they feel it's okay, as I said, to be patriotic is during the Olympics.
Yeah, and what these liberals don't understand, especially the leftists amongst the liberals, is the irony of what would happen if what they would want to have become true actually were to be so, right? Because if they would want us to be less in stature, less important, less powerful, then some of these leftists who are in positions of power in Congress or in the Senate, they then would become less powerful and important. They don't seem to understand that they would be advocating for their own demise.
And I think what they don't understand, too, is because America is a democratic country and it espouses freedom and has values that are rooted in Judeo-Christian ethics, that is a big reason why this country is successful. And that's why they don't like this country, because of that. They hate that.
Yeah, indeed, for sure. We're going to bring on a guy that he'll be the prescription for all that ails us. Dr. Randy Tobler is going to join us at 5:25, and then at 5:45, we'll prepare you for Larry Connors USA. If you miss any of our programming throughout the day, if you're like, oh, darn it, I heard that Tim and Chris were going to talk to David Stokes about initiative petition reform and Andrew Bailey going after Sam Page. If you missed that segment today, you missed a lot. Or if you miss any of our segments, you can just download our podcast. Go to our website, newstalkstl.com, or go to wherever you get podcasts, or go to our app, which I hope you've downloaded on your phone. If you've downloaded, thank you very much. Congratulations. We love you. Tell your neighbors, your friends, your family members to download the News Talk STL app as well. I was using the app today. It's really a fantastic app. It is so easy to use. It syncs perfectly with your Bluetooth in your car and all that such and so forth. And it's a really great way to carry us with you wherever you might be around this country or even around the planet. Let's see. Tobler and then Larry Connors and everything you need to know before we let you go. Before we get to that, though, you know what? We do need to do today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Chris and audience, I thought we'd take you a little walk down memory lane, courtesy of a little cartoon that popped up in my Twitter X timeline today. Oh, no, actually, you know what? No, I got to give credit where it's due. I found it at the aforementioned Committee to Unleash Prosperity newsletter. It was at the very bottom. They always have a little funny little cartoon. This one's hilarious. Chris, this is the climate change timeline of failed predictions. You and I have often talked about these things. Like every once in a while, we'll bring something up that we'll see. This has all of them in one place. It's absolutely hilarious. So all you got to do is go to my Twitter feed, Speaker Tim Jones, and you can look up this little cartoon that I posted, courtesy of our friends, Dr. Art Laffer, Phil Kerpen, and Stephen Moore over at the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. It's called Climate Change, a timeline of failed predictions. So it's a very simple cartoon. It's got a little bar graph in the middle with the decades, 60s, the 70s, the 1980s, the 1990s, the aughts, the 2000s, and the 2010s. There is a very funny little photograph of Greta Thunberg. Basically, you can see, it's almost as if she's in mid-sentence saying, "How dare you?" And then at the bottom is AOC. So you got the two ringleaders of these failed predictions. And Chris and I have brought these up, like I said, over the last few years, now approaching 4.5 years that we've been doing this show on the station. But here they all are in one little photograph. And boy, doesn't it make them look insane. Look, I am not saying, before I get to this, that we should not take care of the environment, that we should not be worried about Mother Earth. So far, it's the only Earth that we're aware of until, I guess, Elon Musk colonizes the moon and Mars. So it's the only planet we have. We should take care of it. And honestly, folks, some of the biggest conservationists I know are conservatives. It's in the name, conservationist. The word conservative's in there. I don't think by accident. Folks that really actually care about doing something for the planet. We just don't run around and BS about it and be hypocritical about it and advocate for things like petroleum-filled massive petroleum-filled windmills that end up killing the whales, which is something the left always said we need to save. So here's what the left has told us was going to happen to planet Earth from the 60s to the present. Back in the 1960s, there were predictions of dire famines all across the U.S. by 1975. Didn't happen. In that same decade, there was predictions of catastrophic explosions that would occur on our planet in 20 years. I don't know what from. The cartoon doesn't go into detail on that, but trust me, I'm sure it happened. In the 1970s, we were supposed to experience food and water rationing. Remember, the 70s were kind of rough, Jimmy Carter and the gang. We were supposed to have that by 1974. There was supposed to be an ice age. There is a very famous clip. I think we've played it before. Leonard Nimoy, the late Leonard Nimoy, Spock, standing on a bridge in this nor'easter. And he's talking about how we're going to have an ice age. I think it was from the late 70s or early 80s. That never happened. Do you remember the ozone hole scare in the late 70s? There was going to be an ozone hole. It was going to be irreparable. It was going to be a peril to life itself. That did not occur. The ozone layer has been rebuilt over the decades. Acid rain was supposed to kill all of our lakes all across the country. Didn't happen either. In the 80s, in the late 1980s, the Maldives, look it up. The Maldives were supposed to be underwater in 30 years, along with apparently New York City. So there were predictions in the late 80s that New York City and the Maldives were supposed to be underwater. Never happened. In the early aughts, in the early 2000s, we were supposed to experience a famine in 10 years, basically 15 years ago. That didn't happen. Snow. We were never supposed to see snow ever again. I think this was one of the roughest winters we had in the Midwest in decades. We had feet of snow at one point. That was supposed to be a thing of the past. There was supposed to be a British Siberian climate by 2020, which didn't occur. The Arctic, this is their favorite prediction, and this is hilarious. The cartoon's got all the decades listed out. The Arctic was supposed to be ice-free in 2013. Didn't happen. 2014, 2015, and then by 2018. I think they finally gave up on making that prediction because it just wouldn't and still hasn't come true.
What about the polar bears?
Yeah, polar bears and the penguins. AOC, back in the early 2010s, predicted the world would end in 12 years. Chris, we weren't supposed to be here 3 years ago.
Yes.
And Greta Thunberg, the aforementioned little activist from, where's she from? She's from Sweden. Chris, she predicted mass extinction by 2023. And here we are in mid-2025, and we're still standing.
How dare you?
And that's the speaker's stump speech of climate change, a timeline of failed predictions from the 1960s to 2025. Chris, maybe the left should stop trying to predict the weather.
You cannot predict the weather. The Earth has been evolving and changing. Some say for millions of years. Some say for thousands of years. How you can take a tiny snapshot of a little over 100 years of weather information and history and can create a whole science out of that, claiming that the world is heating, is beyond me. I thought we were more intelligent than that, Tim.
We should be looking, and Chris, we talked to this guy once, maybe a couple of years ago. We should be looking more at geology rather than meteorology, and know that even if the Earth does evolve one way or the other, we should be good caretakers of it. But as far as the climate goes, that's just whatever the good Lord is going to do, and we just have to adapt and be flexible around it.
And those of us of the Christian faith know that we're not going to go out by global warming.
We are not. We're not going to explode in a fiery ball of flame. And Chris, we're probably not going to have an ice age for a while either.
Exactly.
Indeedy.
You and I won't be here when there's another ice age.
Most likely
or
true.
our generation, many generations after us, probably.
Just ask the dinosaurs and the woolly mammoths about climate change. All right, we're going to be back with we're going to have a doctor straighten us all out. He's got the prescription for what ails us. He is the good Dr. Randy Tobler. You hear him every Saturday morning here at News Talk STL. Chris and I and Joey will speak with him next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Things he wouldn't tell nobody else. Secret, baby, I keep them to myself. Sweet nothing.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
We walk along hand in hand. Sweet nothing.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more intensely hot day, but it also comes with a chance of storms. In the morning will be dry, 79 for the low, then 94 in the afternoon, heat index up to 105. By late afternoon and evening, let's watch for some heavy storms, some isolated pockets of damaging wind, not out of the question. So we're on guard for not just Heat Wednesday, but also a First Alert weather day for any isolated severe storms by the evening. Then Thursday, chance for a couple showers, but nothing severe, much cooler. The heat wave's broken with a high of 80 degrees, but muggy. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime,
Everywhere.
anywhere.
Well, just in the nick of time, we have a brand new advertiser, supporter of the station and the show to tell you all about Mosquito Nix. Now, it's N-I-X on the end. So Mosquito Nix, Nix.com, MosquitoNix.com. They offer permanent, automatic mosquito and tick protection. I seriously read a story just the other day about how ticks are just really running rampant this year in the heartland. We've had tons of rain, tons of warmth. That is like tick regeneration on steroids. So get Mosquito Nix, N-I-X, out to your home today. Not just fogging, but real coverage you don't have to think about. They've already helped 40,000 families nationwide. Now they're right here in our backyard in St. Louis, celebrating their launch with a bite-free backyard sweepstakes. One lucky family will get their entire yard protected. 10 others will receive a free fogging treatment just for entering. Call 636-698-1980 now to enter, 636-698-1980, or just go to MosquitoNix.com. Tell them that Tim Jones and News Talk STL sent you for sure. Superior residential and commercial pest control. Mosquito Nix, with their device called Pest Nix, will take care of your home, your business, whatever you may have from all the crazy critters that we have here in the heartland. 636-698-1980, or simply go to Mosquito Nix, N-I-X, MosquitoNix.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Planning your next adventure? Head to Landell EE Clothing Store in Wentzville and gear up for less. Whether you're hitting the beach or the slopes, we've got you covered at prices that won't break the bank. Find us at 12680 Veterans Memorial Parkway, just west of Highway A off I-70. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Landell EE, where adventure meets affordability. Stop by today and discover the bargains waiting for you.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention News Talk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention News Talk STL for 10% off.
We aren't asking you to volunteer for CASA. We're asking you to advocate for
Alex,
Andre,
Ava,
Max,
Olivia,
Ciara.
CASA volunteers make a lasting impact in a child's life in only a few volunteer hours a week. As a CASA volunteer, you support a child throughout their experience in foster care, advocating for their needs and ensuring their voice is heard.
Learn more at mocasa.org. Paid for by the Missouri CASA Association.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Byrna Technologies from Fort Wayne, Indiana, develops non-lethal self-defense tools for both civilians and law enforcement. Your company started preparing for the possibility of tariffs. I mean, obviously, that's a lot of money to move a manufacturing plant to Fort Wayne. Have you had to raise your prices? What's been the repercussions of all this?
What we found is by manufacturing in the United States, we're, of course, significantly shortening the supply chain. We're getting stuff much quicker. Our freight rates are lower. Frankly, our quality is higher. We were in the position before where you get a container with bad parts. What do you do when the supplier is 10,000 miles away?
Mm-hmm. Indeed. It looks like, Chris, that might be a good idea to start making stuff in the good old USA again.
You would have thought the pandemic would have woke us up that we need to make that stuff here instead of depending on China for our PPE.
Indeedy. Let's talk about those issues and more with our next guest.
Gentlemen, we're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Yeah, he is the prescription for what ails us. You can hear him every Saturday morning here at News Talk STL from 6 to 9 a.m. And if you're in mid-Missouri, you can check him out throughout the mid-Missouri lands on 93.9 The Eagle and a couple of other stations in those localities. Dr. Randy Tobler joins us once again. Doc, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good, man. I can't wait for this weather to break. It's a little bit of it's as oppressive as the AOC woke regime would like us to live under. It's terrible.
Indeed. Doc, all the experts apparently are being proven wrong once again. We are not entering a recession. The tariffs have not ended the planet as we know it. And if you believe that Byrna CEO there, he's like, well, holy smokes. Things are a little better long term when we build things back here in the good old USA again. Maybe we shouldn't be so reliant on our biggest geopolitical enemy right now, communist China. What say you?
No, you're right. It's really interesting how I think had the non-reciprocal tariffs gone in, and maybe they still might against China or whoever, but I mean, for the most part, with just modest tariffs, and with that, the promise of bringing domestic manufacturing back, and hopefully the promise of cheaper and cheaper transportation costs to get those products from wherever to, St. Louis area folks. You'd like to think it all balances out to where people have jobs, they pay well, they're not paying more for imported stuff, which in many cases is not as well made as our stuff. And, meanwhile, we're paying down some of the debt as we go along. Not sure I agree with Josh Hawley on taking some of that pay down the debt money and refunding it, but that's a whole other issue. But yeah, I mean, so far, so good. I know that some economists I respect say, hey, the other shoe has to drop yet. Let's hold our cards, until we see how it's all going to pan out. But it's good to hear a guy that is very, very connected with supply chains and transportation and, how things are unfolding, saying, hey, don't really see a big storm on the horizon. It's good to hear.
Dr. Tobler, of course, we've had another shooting tragedy, this time at the NFL headquarters there in New York. The shooter who shot up the headquarters is claiming that he suffered head trauma from his high school football career, and that's what drove him to do this, because he said it wasn't being talked about. The NFL was covering up. Usually when you hear of athletes, NFL players that are suffering from this disease, it's years after they retired and they had memory loss and a lot of physical symptoms. Could this young man have been suffering from this disease at this young age to be able to do something so traumatic as this?
I guess the operative word here is could, and you never say never, but I would just ask you a question. How many mass murders who cavalierly and casually walk down in the middle of the heart of Manhattan with a long gun like it's John Travolta on Saturday Night Fever strutting down the lane, and taking out people in a very rational way. In a sense, clearly there's some irrational behavior there, but a very rational plan. Do you hear about ex-cornerbacks and down linemen and, quarterbacks and other people going? How many of those have we had in many NFL people? Many of whom who suffer real damage from this disease. I mean, there may be an element of that, but again, I think this guy's of the age where just because you have some medical problem, and it may even be a medical problem that affects you behavior psychologically, I just don't know that that's a valid excuse for what he did. And I just think that it represents a generation of victimhood where I have no agency, I have no responsibility, I'm a victim of my circumstances, woe is me, so I think I'll take out some people. I don't buy it.
And Doc, Chris and I have talked about this a number of times, and I'm pretty sure we've discussed it with you as well. Anytime there is a situation like this that involves gun violence, the media whips themselves up to a frenzy. The leftists, climb all over each other to get to podiums. But Chris and I just gave several examples off the top of our heads about some other recent violent incidences that did not involve a gun at all. There was a recent incident involving a knife where 11 people were stabbed. There have been incidences recently where people have taken vehicles and driven them through crowded intersections and through parades. Yep. And Doc, the media, they report those stories, and then within 30 seconds they move on. My question is, isn't it? It's something. It's not with the inanimate objects, right? It's something that got broken in our culture, I think, over the last few decades. What say you as to that issue?
I think that you are so right. You guys are so right on this. And Tim, think about it. We just had that incident, and was it Traverse, Michigan, where last time I checked, the hero, the veteran, the Marine veteran, didn't have a water pistol that he used to keep that guy at bay. So not only did you not have a gun that did it, it was a loaded gun that actually stopped more of the carnage. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, it's the irrational exuberance. Who can run first to, try to make a politicized, anti-gun issue over every little one that happens while ignoring. We were down at a conference in New Orleans last week. The girls wanted to walk down Bourbon Street. Man, it was an eerie feeling, guys. We just were recalling that carnage that happened. And so you're right. But people kill people, and they use various weapons. We have a people problem here, not a weapon problem.
Dr. Tobler, GLP-1s have been the wonder drug when it comes to weight loss. Several people that Becky and I know have on that and had dramatic results. It also seems to be a wonder drug with other ailments. Studies have found that it lowers the risk from Alzheimer's, addiction, sleep apnea, seizures, and bacterial infections. Oh my God. Is this the wonder drug that it is that they're describing here? I mean, does it cure athlete's foot too?
Look, maybe we should do an experiment and just give it to all the woke progressives in Congress and turn conservative. They have an addiction to irrational politics, right? I don't know. I mean, it's amazing what this stuff does, but it's also a cautionary tale that while it seems to have a lot of positive benefits on the surface and in the short term, no doubt about that. There is the concern over long-term muscle loss. There is the concern over when and if people stop these rapid weight regain unless they hardwire the changes that went along with that. And so a lot of the things, I mean, no doubt there's a connection between our gut and our head. Some of that is due to the bacteria in our gut and the messages that go to our head. Some is a direct neuronal connection. I think a lot of the positive benefit, like you mentioned with that infections and things that really don't seem to have a metabolic risk to them, probably has to do with what we're eating and how much less we're eating on GLP-1s. so that, it probably then has a spin-off effect to just enhance your immune system. You're not overburdening your body with nothing but digestive action when you can spend energy and resources in immune system action. I think I've seen patients get more active. It's often a jump start to help people's immune system. There was just a story out today about from Dean Ornish, the guy who really proved that with diet, exercise, lifestyle modification, stress reduction, you can actually reverse coronary artery stenosis, the narrowing of your arteries. He did that 25, 30 years ago. Well, now he came out with a study that people that are having some cognitive problems, memory problems, with the same kind of things, and those are the same kind of things that they do naturally by reducing what they're eating, although it emphasizes a very high vegetable diet, that they're seeing less effect on a reversal of cognitive impairment and memory impairment. So look, when you change what's going in the gullet, a lot of other very good things happen. And I think that's probably one of the common, fundamental cores of what's going on with GLP-1s. And, I'm glad to see that we have not seen the rollout of thyroid cancers in mass numbers like was part of the concern, because we saw thyroid cancers in the lab animals in the experiments that these were done on. Haven't really seen that now, so it's good. I mean, the long-term effects, though, protein loss, muscle loss is a big problem. So I am really hammering on people to increase their protein intake and put that protein to use by increasing your muscle building. Then you can be all buff studs like Chris and Tim.
Only on the memes that Joey puts out every day. That's
what I see. That's what I see on the pictures. I don't know. I figured those were lifelike pictures. I didn't know.
No.
Pretty much. Doc, I want to have you expound a little bit more on this. Such an important topic. I think in the United States of America, especially, in our rock and roll, go as long as you can, as far as you can society, which is great. It makes us industrious and entrepreneurial and all that. We don't often think, like in our fast food world we're in now, we don't often think about that. But Doc, you really are. The old cliche, you are what you eat. It really matters what you put in your body. And as I've gotten a little older, I've noticed that if I eat better, a little more healthy, a little more fruits and veggies and less of the bad stuff, you do recover faster from things and you do feel better, right? Which means internally your systems are probably healthier for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Just think how little bloating you have and how much sharper you are, how better you sleep when you just sort of cut down on the things that come in crinkly packages. And just, if nothing else, go out for a brisk walk, or better yet, unless you're having back or knee or hip problems, run for 50 steps and walk for 100 steps. Run for 75 and walk for 75, and do some interval walking and running. And you'll be amazed how you're just so much more effective. You might, if you do it in the early afternoon, you get a couple more productive hours out of the day. You wake up, you have a better sleep. Better sleep translates to a better next day. Look, all of these things work in concert, but it really is a matter of just modifying what's going in, how much of it's going in, and getting your body moving in a productive way. You don't have to be a gym rat, but just get active. Doing those little things, and then just monitor how you feel. And you can't help but eventually put that to use the next time you're making a decision. Do I sit and doom scroll from 5:30 to 6 when I get home? Or do I go out and take a nice walk? And after that, do I, eat something creative, eat some celery sticks with salsa, pick up an orange, an apple, eat a piece of string cheese rather than, get into the potato chips. And you'll be amazed what a difference it makes.
Dr. Tobler, you are a Renaissance man, a man of many talents, physician, musician, talk show host. You also are an equestrian as well. I know you lost one of your beloved horses a few years ago. There's a story out today that a congressman from Tennessee was kicked in the ribs and broke a rib by his horse on his farm. As a experienced equestrian, how does that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I used to ride in the old days. My daughter became a quite proficient rider. I was equestrian only in the same sense that I paid for the darn thing, but that's another side. But look, it happens because even experienced riders will tell you that, almost everyone will have a story of where their very well-trained horse whether it's a trail horse, a barrel racing horse, a dressage. Horses just all of a sudden, man, all they need to do is see a mouse run across the barn, and they'll break. They'll just have. They're like people eating high-powered THC gummies in Colorado. They end up in the ER. Their riders end up in the ER with a psychotic break because the horse had one. So I think that's what happens.
Have you ever been kicked?
I have a lot of respect for those animals. And actually, I had a very well-behaved horse who I patted on the butt one night at the end of a day at the farm. Oh, this was 20 years ago, and just walked around patting him. I don't know what happened. It was at the end of the day. We'd had a nice ride, pat him on the butt, and as I was walking around, and he reared up and kicked and broke my arm, actually. Since I was the only OB at the time, I ended up actually delivering a baby with a broken arm the next day and doing a C-section. My orthopedic surgeon wasn't happy about that, and to this day, there's a little. I know of the deformity I have. It's a little bit of a weird deal. I can't. There's some side effects to a broken arm.
And you have just added to the Dr. Randy Tobler lore, delivering a baby with a broken arm. Wow.
I was given permission by the doc, so that was okay.
Are there pictures of that somewhere?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, HIPAA would prevent that.
Doc, you and my father, who could trade a lot of stories. My dad, having grown up on a farm, said the last thing he was going to do in graduating from veterinarian school was specialize in large animals, because he said the same thing you did. He just got kicked and stomped on too much as a kid growing up in Southwest Missouri.
Yeah, horses are like Democrats. You just can't trust them.
Dun. 2-drink minimum.
You'll be here all week. Doc, thanks so much for everything. As always, we always have fun and we learn a lot along the way. Folks, you can check out this awesome wit and wisdom every Saturday morning here at News Talk STL, Dr. Randy Tobler Show, from 6 to 9 a.m. Doc, thanks for everything.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Take care.
He's also at Randy Tobler, MD. You can follow him throughout the week, see what he is up to. Wow, just like that, it's 5:43. It's almost 5:44 in the PM. Following us, of course, is Larry Connors USA, the great, the legendary Larry Connors USA. He has got a lot of great stuff we're going to tell you about. We're going to make you listen, of course, as you should, to the final segment, because we're going to tell you everything that Larry's talking about. I'm looking at the list right now. It's some great stuff. And we'll peruse through Chris's stack of stuff. Make sure you know everything you need to know before we let you go to Larry Connors USA. All that when we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more intensely hot day, but it also comes with a chance of storms. In the morning, will be dry, 79 for the low, then 94 in the afternoon, heat index up to 105. By late afternoon and evening, let's watch for some heavy storms, some isolated pockets of damaging wind, not out of the question. So we're on guard for not just Heat Wednesday, but also a First Alert weather day for any isolated severe storms by the evening. Then Thursday, chance for a couple showers, but nothing severe, much cooler. The heat wave's broken with a high of 80 degrees, but muggy. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
We will honor another veteran Wednesday at 11:05 with something that we call Vic for Vets, just to thank our veterans.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
You know, in this improving economy, some of you, many of you may be thinking about selling your home. Maybe you need to take a new job somewhere in another place. Maybe you're looking to retire and head elsewhere. Well, you need to call the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. Rodney and Jen Wallner standing by to take care of you for all your real estate needs, no matter what they might be, at 314-810-SOLD. The Wallners, who have now joined forces with our own Jamie Allman, he's on board with the Wallner Home Selling Team. They're going to offer you a flexible commission plan tailored to your family-specific needs, not some boilerplate cookie-cutter model. They've got so many approved home buyers on all of their lists that the Wallners will guarantee to obtain you an offer if you're selling your homestead. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, help you out on both sides of the river. They're a husband and wife team, and they've added Jamie. You get the Three Musketeers there. Unique family perspective when selling your home, not just that of one agent. There's no obligation. There's no long-term commitment. That's why you should feel safe, sound, and secure in getting a hold of Wallner's today at 314-810-SOLD, because if you ever need to change your mind or walk away or whatever, there's no penalty. There's no glue holding you to the contract. You come back whenever you need to. They want you to be the happy camper. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team today for a free listing consultation. You will sell your home with this top producing real estate team, Rodney and Jen Wallner and Jamie Ullman. 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hey, St. Louis golfers, looking for a new golfing experience? Sugar Creek Golf Course was voted the most popular golf course in St. Louis. Book your tee time today at sugarcreekgolfcourse.com and join the fastest growing golf community in town, sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Ryne Sandberg's career as a player and manager spanned parts of 19 big league seasons. For 15 of those years, Ryne manned second base for the Chicago Cubs. He was a baseball superstar who brought a power-speed combo to the top of the Cubs lineup and played virtually error-free defense at second base.
Ryne Sandberg, the all-time leader, 480 chances, airless for Sandberg.
548 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and another Gen Xer and a hero of the Gen X crowd passed yesterday or today. Ryne Sandberg, 65 years old, suffered from pancreatic cancer, diagnosed a couple of years ago, came back recently. But, Ryne Sandberg played on a lot of bad Cubs teams, but he always stood out. And the one thing, if I had to say one word about his baseball career or just him, was consistency. And you look at some of the stats here, as the clip said, he was the record holder for home runs as a second baseman. He was a 10-time All-Star. He had 9 Gold Gloves, 7 Silver Slugger trophies, won the 1984 MVP when the Cubs went to the World Series, I think. And he is a Hall of Famer. And Ryne Sandberg gone way too soon.
Stud. I mean, superstar. And even though we don't cheer for Cubs often, I think we're cheering for Ryne Sandberg and his family today. Huge loss to the baseball world. He had many years ahead of him. Unfortunately, he was taken all too soon.
Yeah, and it takes you back to those days when the Cubs only played day games. You'd watch those games, day games in the afternoon on WGNU. Good memories for me. My childhood friend, he's gone now, but we rented a house when we were in our mid-20s. And that's one thing that we do, because he worked at night and I worked early mornings. And so, we'd sit around in the afternoon drinking beer, watching Cubs games.
Nice.
And just a good memory. And I got to tell you, I'm not a Chicagoan, I'm not a Cubs fan, but it was kind of sad when they threw lights on Wrigley and we're having night games. We're so used to the day games.
Yeah, and for all these purveyors of the new stadium frenzy, right? What do you say to the fact that we still have Wrigley, we still have Fenway? It's a shame they tore down the original house that Ruth built, the old Yankee Stadium. I used to go to that all the time during college and law school. And I understand the new Yankee just doesn't have the feel of the old Yankee. So I hear you, Chris, man. There's something to be said about things in this country that stand the test of time.
And I remember the other two old parks. They've been replaced probably 10 or 15 years now. But remember, there was the White Sox Comiskey Park.
Yes, of
That
course.
was an old park from the 1800s. And then Tiger Stadium was
Yes.
an old bar park as well. I had the opportunity, the honor to attend a Cubs game once in my life. I think that's something you have to do. I'll never forget that game. It was a weekday game, and they were playing the Cincinnati Reds, and we were in the bleachers, Tim, and the wind was blowing out. And I think there were like 6 or 7 home runs that game. They were flying out of Wrigley like it was nothing.
That's funny. That's great. Yeah, I haven't been to Wrigley. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I need to go to a game there. I've seen Fenway. I've never gone to a game there. I need to go to some of these famous parks.
You have to go to a game, but even more nostalgic than the game is just partying outside.
I bet.
I think Waverly Avenue. That's the big street where if you hit it out of the park, it goes out there. And on Waverly Avenue, in front of Wrigley Stadium, is Harry Carey's famous bar, and there's a big giant bust of him with those big giant glasses he used to wear, and Harry Carey was bigger than life, and that bust depicts him as bigger than life as well.
Despite our rivalry, Chicago's a cool town. Unfortunately, it's another town that the lunatic left has taken over, but it's a great place to visit. And there's a lot of cool things to see there. And man, do they have good food.
I'm glad both you and Joey are here because you weren't here yesterday, but I talked about this story. You know how our good buddy Everett Jones talks about the clouds and the the streams from the
chemtrails,
the chemtrails and everything. And I was always kind of like, okay, that's a belief. I don't know if I so much share it. Tim, I had a story here.
You got a chemtrail story?
That kind of gives credence maybe to what Everett's talking about. Listen to this. A team of researchers in California, they drew notoriety last year with an aborted experiment on a retired aircraft carrier, Tim, that sought to test a machine for creating clouds. But behind the scenes, they were planning a much larger and potential riskier study of saltwater spraying equipment that could eventually be used to dim the sun's rays. Play that again.
Whoa.
Saltwater spraying equipment that could eventually be used to dim the sun's rays. The multi-million dollar project was aimed at producing clouds over a stretch of ocean larger than Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Now, if they're shooting stuff in the air trying to create clouds and everything, and create rain and dim the sun, could chemtrails be another nefarious plot to do the same thing while they're up in the air? I don't know.
There's a lot of people doing a lot of things up in our atmosphere.
And
there is.
And Ethan and I were talking about this, and I'm not a meteorologist, but if you're shooting salt water up in the air to create clouds, does that mean it's going to rain salt down and rust steel buildings and destroy the soil, Tim? Is this another idea of liberals trying to do good, but it backfires and creates havoc?
Very possible. I mean, I think people want to know what they're seeing and experiencing. Just like our good friend Eric Burleson, the congressman from Southwest Missouri, he's hot and heavy all over the whole UFO, UAP phenomenon. People are seeing something, whether it's chemtrails or unidentified objects. And what we want to know is our government up to good or up to no good in its own devices?
We're all getting used to ordering things off Amazon, getting it the next day, a couple of days later, the convenience of it. But, it's getting to the point now where you can get your deliveries the same day. We hear about the drones, the experiments of pizzas and other things being delivered by drones. There's a new company that is looking to get goods to you in 15 or 20 minutes. They are partnering with major companies to do this. And it was so weird because I have never gotten anything the same day before. It's always been, I get it tomorrow, early, whatever. That happened to me yesterday when we were on the plane flying back.
Okay.
And I need a new wallet. And Becky ordered the wallet for me on the plane.
Yes.
In Dallas. The wallet came like about 4 o'clock or about 3 o'clock that afternoon. Becky was like, yeah, here's your wallet. I'm like, wait a minute. You just ordered this morning and I've got it already. And she said, well, they probably have a fulfillment center with that wallet in St. Louis so they could get it to you quickly. But I was impressed. And have you ever gotten anything the same exact day?
Once or twice. And boy, do we live in a brave new world. And I'll tell you, Chris, where one of these facilities is, they have built an Amazon fulfillment facility down on Interstate 44 where the old Chrysler plant used to be. Thankfully, there's a bunch of brand new, huge businesses in there. There's a big Budweiser distributorship, and there's a huge Amazon facility. Chris, it may have come from there.
I saw the funniest thing in the world today. I was watching a Facebook reel, and it was about these porch pirates. And this woman, she must have put an M80 firecracker in this box because this guy had been stealing their packages. And the thing blows up, and he's like, what the heck? And the lady's so calm. She's got a southern accent. She goes, are you okay? And he's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, well, you shouldn't be stealing my packages.
Amen.
I'm going to call the police. Oh,
Go right ahead.
I laughed for 2 minutes because just her calm southern voice and just like, are you okay? Oh, it was hilarious. All right. Larry Connors, USA is up next. He's going to talk about John Daniel Davidson of the Federalist says the Russia collusion hoax is worse than you think. And Larry also shares Mike Ferguson's interview with A.G. Bailey on abortion pills. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case